Hey guys, in today's watch party, we're going to be taking a look at my participation in the 2D animation virtual summit that took place. I believe this was last year. A lot of people missed this, and I mean, they promoted the hell out of this. So if you missed it, you'll be doing yourself a great service if you go to animationsummit.net, purchase yourself a pass, and you'll be able to see all the sessions that took place. I mean, this was a whole week of speakers and content and valuable information that took place. I mean, we had animators, storyboarders, there were character designers, concept designers. There were people who were just starting out. So this was a really good experience. If you got to see this, it was originally aired for free while it was live. You can go to animationsummit.net and just purchase the pass. I think it's like 40 or 50 bucks or something like that. And you'll have access to not only the original archive with the full, as it was broadcasted, live streams, which is really cool because you can hit play on them during the morning and, just watch all these things as you do your work during the day. But Tony has also made the individual presentations available, so you could just skip to the presentations. Okay, so we had, like, for example, Monday we had animation and character design. Tuesday we had more character design. Wednesday there was character rigging, character design, an interview with an independent animator. This is like a very good, like, industry stuff. If you want to know about what to charge, how people are working, where to get the jobs, there is a lot of valuable information to be had, guys. More animation production stuff on a professional level, FX animations, more character design stuff. Starting an animation business. See, this is an amazing presentation here.
Hey, this is Tony Ross.
So she talks about all sorts of things that you need to know if you're going to be doing this professionally and as an independent animator. A lot of these were, like, on Friday, were about the business of animation, character and story development, attracting employment, and so on. So this is not just about Flash or Toon Boom. I mean, this were animators and designers and FX artists of all disciplines. And I am kind of rambling now, but for the purpose of this watch party, I am going to be kind of sneaking into my session. I don't have permission. I did not ask for permission. I don't think Tony will have a problem with me rebroadcasting this as a one-time watch party event. After this watch party, I will be taking down the video, so hopefully you guys get something good out of it. And if you do kind of like what was done here, show some support for Tony. Go to his site and actually, it's not so much about Tony and supporting him. It's really, there's a lot of valuable content here. You'll be doing yourself a great service by accessing all of this valuable information here. I mean, you can go to any master class out there and you're never going to get this much information in one spot. So anyways, so here we go. I'm going to pull up my session and we're going to go full screen. I am also going to hang out in the chat room and watch this with everybody, and let's chat. Hopefully you guys enjoy this, and stick around after the presentation, and we'll do some more chatting, and hopefully this won't be the last watch party that we do here at the Advanced Cartoon Animator group on Facebook. So without further ado, guys, here is me.
Hey, this is Tony Ross for the 2D Animation Virtual Summit. And I am a little excited that I have my colleague, Mr. Ibis Fernandez, online with us. and he's going to be talking a little bit about how he does motion capture with 2D animation. And the reason I'm kind of excited about this is I initially met Ibis, like, good grief, it was a long time ago.
A very long time ago.
Yeah, where Macromedia still owned Flash. Flash, and your site was Flash Filmmaker, I believe.
Flashfilmmaker.com, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we all came out of.
It's like, so yeah, me, it was, this is also where I first met Mudbubble, which or Keyframer Chris Georginas, which I'm going to be meeting with him later tonight. So
nice, nice, nice.
We're getting the band back together, man.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking. You're getting the band back together, man. you gotta hit up Steven Brooks and Chris Murphy.
Oh man, good grief, yeah. So yeah, I mean, we're all kind of living, learning, and growing with the system. So ironically, I had just started looking at a friend of mine told me to start looking over at Real Illusions software, and I was watching part of the reel, and I saw Ibis's name. I saw his name pop up. I was like, dude, okay, cool. So, dude, I'm glad to have you on the show, man.
Man, I'm really glad to be here. I hope everybody else who's watching this is having a good time too. It's really amazing what you're doing these days with this whole conference thing.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
There's a little dog coming inside of the house. All right. So what's going on, man? What are we talking about today?
No, not too much. I'm curious as to you got Junior here in his skivvies, and this is in Flash, I take it?
I have Flash open right now. Basically, one of the things that I've been focusing a lot this last couple of years is basically I mean, we're always looking for ways to simplify our workflow, be able to produce more with as little effort as possible, right? So
yes.
One of the things I ended up kind of arriving at is this program called Crazytalk Animator. It was produced by a company called Rgging. Now, these guys, I think their objective is really just to make animation accessible to as many people as possible. So the program itself was not necessarily made for the professional animator in mind, but somehow accidentally or serendipitous, I guess, they came up with a way to allow you to rig characters in a way that they have a 3D skeletal system, and you basically map 2D sprites onto it. From a professional standpoint, basically what that means is that we can pretty much not just rig like the way that we used to with Flash with the skeletal system, where you could just put a bone system on the symbols and just kind of move them within that two-dimensional plane.
Right.
But you can literally have a 3D skeleton that has these symbols mapped against the skeleton, so that when the skeleton moves, the whole thing is rigged. I mean, it's a little bit of a challenge to create these characters the first time around. Once you have them done, I mean, you basically have like a puppet. You have a like a typical CG character, but in 2D format. And that's kind of what attracts me to it, that I can continue to draw my 2D characters, and they include that same expressiveness that you can only achieve with hand-drawn artwork. So that's what appeals to me about this particular process. Now, by itself, the program works great. You can create these 2D characters that are, you have all 10 angles rigged at the same time. So regardless of what angle you turn your character around in or move them, you already have predefined symbols for the hands, the hand gestures, the mouths. And they're basically like marionettes. So by itself, the program works fine out of the box. You drop one of these pre-made characters, and anybody can animate them. The school teacher who wants to make a presentation for their class can go home and be animating without any kind of previous skills. The additional benefit to this particular workflow is that, I mean, these people who are using this program, they don't necessarily have to know how to animate either, because it's a 3D skeletal system. So there's libraries of pre-made motions that, as long as they're mapped correctly, you could just drag and drop those motions. So if somebody wants to make a walk cycle, they just have to look through the different repositories, grab a walk cycle, dump it into their character, and they have a walk cycle. Almost no effort whatsoever. It's crazy how technology is making things like that possible. Um, of course, it's a little bit difficult, to create these characters from scratch. So that's where, somebody with more experience, or on a more professional level, can come in. And, to us, doing the hard work is never a problem. We know animation is difficult. We know the countless hours that it takes to create anything. So we're used to it. So we have no problem just sitting here and, creating these angles. I'm gonna show you what a typical rig looks like. Now this is a character called Kevin. This is the base character here, and basically he's just a series of symbols, in different forms.
Hmm.
Uh, and here we have, we're able to like rotate that arm around, so you can see how it's going to rotate. And it's just a typical movie clip symbol in Flash. The hands themselves, it's a collection of 11 sprites or 11 symbols nested inside of each other. For those who use Flash, nested symbols. So, you have a series of predefined gestures, hand gestures.
Right.
At the same time, you pretty much do the same thing for all the other angles. So here's like a quarter view angle, and here's like the hand, for example. And you can see how every frame within that main symbol has a different sprite or that different symbol. The eyes are treated the same. So we create eyes inside of the character that basically account for different expressions. So if we look here, let's see, this is like normal eye. Then on frame number 2, we're gonna put like a closed eye. We skip around. You can see that there's different gestures for the eyes. Now, it does get a little bit tricky after this, because then you have another level of nesting that takes place. Now, this is more for like the people who are going to be creating their own custom stuff. In general, the typical audience that Reallusion appeals to is that 13-year-old kid who wants to produce animated content, the teacher, the guy who wants to do like a marketing video without having to hire somebody. They're probably never gonna get this far.
Okay.
But the marketplace is available so that they can go in and buy these type of characters so that they can use them. So this is like the deepest level of the nesting for the eye. You can see that there's 3 layers here.
Hmm.
So this top layer is basically what's referred to as the mask layer, and all it is it defines where the eye, the visible area of the pupil. So all it is that on top of the white area of the eye. It just covers it up. Of course, on the middle layer, we have, the pupil.
Hmm.
And the bottom, we have what's called the image. And this is basically going to include the white of the eye, any kind of eyelashes, any kind of additional artwork like freckles and things. When you put it all together and mask it out, I mean, you do end up with a series of quite a bit of symbols put together. So, we have the front, we have the back, we have a quarter view, we have a side view, and we have a quarter view from behind. Now, these also have like mirrored versions of them, but I don't typically make them unique unless they have asymmetrical features like a pirate with a peg leg. It's not always necessary, so I don't always do it. Because basically all it is, a mirror version of that same thing. We have the top sprites and the bottom sprites. So once this stuff is put together, it's exported. And one of the things I did is, because of the nature of having to do all this, it's a little bit tedious work. Let me kind of backtrack this so I can put everything back in its place real quick. Actually, I could probably do it by reverting it, huh?
Good old revert.
Yeah. So we gotta wait for it to load up. There it is. So because of the nature, I mean, if you're familiar with Flash already, so a lot of these techniques you're already familiar with. You know, you have movie clip symbols, and you have
Mhm.
your properties panel where you're able to give it an instance name. And this is how the Crazytalk software, or it's called Cartoon Animator 4 now.
Mhm.
The software is going to be able to, it's going to be looking for these sprites, these symbols. So it's going to go, oh, this is the left arm for the 315 angle, and it's gonna import it that way. And it's basically going to do the same thing for all the different body parts. That's the left forearm for the 315 angle. uh, if I click here, you can see that on the properties panel. This is the left hand for the 0 angle, the front angle. And of course, inside of that, you know, if we click on here, that's one of the hands, and that's the hand doing the 1 gesture. So we have everything put together. Because of the nature of having to remember all those instance names and where everything goes, I actually created my own plugin that helps me like speed things up. I call this thing Puppet Producer,
Yes.
and the way that it works is basically let me open up a blank file here real quick. You know, I can just start drawing something. For example, this is going to be a character's torso,
Mhm.
and this is going to be an upper arm, the forearm, and this is going to be the first hand, and maybe the upper leg. Oh, we're going to put a little hip there, the shin area, maybe a foot. Oh, we're going to need a neck and a head. So for all intents and purposes, this is a character that we took our time to draw, and it looks great.
Mhm.
Uh, so so basically what this software does is it allows me to just kind of turn something into a symbol here. It's the movie clip symbol. So I just click it on the interface, and it automatically adds like a pivot point that I'm going to need, because the software is going to be looking for this pivot point. So this is telling the software, I want this head to rotate along this part here. And this is going to be like the handle that allows it to bend. This is going to be my neck. I just click it, boom. I put a little pivot there where I want the neck to bend maybe.
Uh,
And we're going to do the same thing with this arm. I'm just going to turn this one to a basic symbol, movie clip symbol before I do anything else. I just F8.
Classic. Yes. F8. Now I'm going to interrupt for a second
Go ahead.
because okay, so where I first yeah, we met at Flash Filmmaker, but where I first ran into you is because you were building plugins for Flash way back in the day, and the dynamic color and all this crazy stuff. So yeah, I am psyched to see that you're still building these plugins, man. This is crazy.
I'm still building plugins. Every time I run into like something that I need, I usually start, you know, going back into it. It's like, what can I do to like speed this up? I was building plugins since before Flash even allowed plugins, because they had this thing in the help menu
Uh-huh.
where it allowed you to put in like a Flash file in the folder for the help files. And I remember I used to put like little cell shading apps in there. They
Yes.
weren't interactive with the program, but it was still like a nifty way to pull it up and be able to calculate colors and all sorts of stuff. Oh, that was silly. Okay,
Man,
so
this is awesome.
so I have these symbols here that I pretty much set up. I didn't do the other half because, you know, this is basically I could just mirror everything.
Right.
I'm just gonna take this, duplicate, modify, transform, horizontal. Okay, so there's a full body there. So I take that one and I just click the associated body part. Now I could, you know, take the time and, you know, draw everything the way it's supposed to be, but this is like just like the easiest demonstration that I can possibly think of. And you're gonna see with the full character in a minute. So basically, I mean, and I could take the time to like basically go through the whole Excel spreadsheet, see what each part is supposed to be called, where all the pivots are and everything. But this is just minimizing everything to like a point and click operation.
Okay.
So I'm adding the pivot points where they need to go.
Yeah, I'm checking out your output. It's actually spitting out all the technical information. It's pretty awesome.
Nice. So I'm almost done, and this is the front. And there's these characters usually require 10 different angles, but you don't have to do all 10. I mean, if you know that you're only going to be doing the character from one specific angle, then just do that angle and
Right.
just give yourself the work, you know? I like doing all the angles possible because, you know, I just like throwing them. I don't know what I'm going to be using these characters for, so I like them to be ready for pretty much whatever I can throw at them. And I do sell a lot of these characters through the little Reallusion marketplace or toontitan.com.
Mm-hmm.
For people who just want a starting point. You know, the templates are there. All they have to do is go open up the Flash file, modify, create their own characters. They don't have to worry about the rigging. So here I pretty much rigged up a front character. So I basically demonstrated what I basically did with this character here. So that was the front angle, except that I went ahead on this particular character, I did all the different angles. So what happens is that once you're ready to export, I'm gonna go to File, Export Movie, and we need an SWF file.
So it's still using SWFs?
Yeah, SWF. They're still being supported by a lot of softwares, and I'm happy for it because I mean I think it's heavily underrated, especially now that you know there's been a separation between what goes on the web and what's made for television. I think Adobe is finally realizing that you know animators have been doing this type of work with Flash for years, and they've always focused on the web end of the stuff as a replacement for the GIF file or you know to
Right.
make little clicky websites with sound and stuff. But the format itself, I mean, it's got you know unlimited resolution with the vector artwork.
Right.
It can contain sound interactivity. So just for like the internal production process, you know, not even counting the web stuff. I mean, forget the web stuff, you know, just the creating cartoons and just being able to produce stuff locally for TV. I think it's like more than relevant these days. I'm really happy that they're still um, keeping it strong. Okay, so this is a different export. Hang on. Where did I export that other one to? Let me export it again because I think I exported it to a different folder. Control Alt Z. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so I'm exporting this one. I'll go ahead and export this one too so you can see what we just did. Call it stick.
Yes, it's sad that I'm excited to see Stick in action.
Okay, perfect. We'll do that one first. So basically the way it works is that once you have it in this particular software, you can get any other character that's uses the same format. This particular character is referred to as the Generation 2 character, the G2 character.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that have the 3D skeletal system. There's a newer version now, the G3, but those are more for like the people who are used to working with Photoshop, and they only need that one angle. So they don't have the 3D support. They don't have the multiple angle support. So I still kind of prefer the G2 versions better.
Okay.
So I'm going to take any of these 2D G2 characters as a base. I just need a starting point to replace. And we'll go into the composer mode here. So once we're inside of the composer mode, there's this little SWF import button. We just click it. And we're gonna look for, I'm gonna start with this stick guy. Now the hands are probably not gonna get imported because I needed to do one more step on the hands,
Mm-hmm.
but you'll see what happens. So there's our stick figure.
Okay.
And of course the hands are missing. I'm gonna go ahead and do the hands the way that I needed to. I needed to go inside, and inside of that hand sprite, I needed to actually give it a name of which gesture it's doing. So I'm gonna just call it the relaxed hand.
Okay.
And that's it, that's all I needed to do. The instance name has been added. It's been converted to a movie clip symbol. I'm gonna re-export them.
So I was going to ask initially because when Demille Bryant was actually showing, because we do a lot of production with
Mhm.
Flash, or
Yeah.
excuse me, and he said, yeah, we always use graphic symbols, and I was like, I was curious why you're using movie clips, but I see now because you have to give them that instance name.
You require the instance name.
Yeah.
The graphic symbols, they're basically static. So if you can import them as props into the Crazytalk software,
Hmm.
but they won't have the additional functionality of allowing you to do things like tell it that this belongs to this particular body part.
Okay.
Um, let's see here. I'm just gonna re-import that SWF file,
Okay.
and that should come in with the hands. So basically, as you can see, there's like a rig skeleton based on where my pivot points were.
Hmm.
I'm gonna hide the bones. Actually, I'm not gonna hide them because I want you guys to see it. I'm just gonna make them very thin.
Okay.
And we can do a quick basic calibration. So here's like a standard pre-made walk cycle that I can apply to it. And I just save myself a day's work, you know? I mean, that's literally like what, 4 or 5 hours of work that,
Yeah.
you know, that would have taken to create that animation cycle.
Yeah. This is what I always mess around with people like, this is a perfect hamburger client solution for me.
Exactly, because nobody wants to pay, you know, they want really good quality stuff, but they don't really have the budgets for it.
Right.
And with software being more accessible and everybody, you know, wanting to get on board with animation, the competition is pretty heavy, you know.
Yeah.
But it does allow you to do more. So like here I have a pre-rigged character that I can literally apply any of my pre-made motions that I might have done like, you know, a year ago. And a client comes up to me, hey, I need a sequence of this guy running, and then he's gonna grab something, he's gonna jump. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I got those motions in my library already.
Right.
And of course your character, okay, you know, it's gonna do this, da, da, da. Okay, it might take me 2 days to build the character,
Right.
but the motions are already set up, and if I don't have them, I can just puppeteer it, you know. uh and literally I could probably, I mean, I have in the past, I mean, I think the craziest one I did was it was a $500 project. I mean, that was the limit. That's all the guy had, but he wanted 15 minutes of animation.
Whoa. Okay.
And then he starts telling me what it was. It was like a courtroom recreation and stuff. Um, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, we can do that. You know. So I called my son up. He comes over. I have him put on the motion capture suit. He's like, dude, put this on real quick and just kind of, you know, gesture whatever you see the actor talking about in the audio. He sat there. He performed it. Basically, moved his arms around and, you know, pointed at stuff. Take that motion capture, drop it into the software. Like, and this was a pre-made character that I didn't even have to design. Um, Took about 3, maybe 4 hours tops. Perfectly doable. 15 minutes animation, $500, 3-4 hours worth of work. You know,
Okay.
not bad, not bad. So I think it's I don't know. I mean, it's just really made it so that you can make yourself more accessible. I mean, obviously, you're not going to be underselling yourself, you know, all the time, but but so here's a couple more calibrations that you can see, like with pre-made motions of how this character would look like. So you can start testing them out.
That is insane.
Yeah. So once you rig it, and I mean, Flash has been able to use bones for the longest time, and that's one of my kind of my little things with like different animation software. They kind of don't innovate like the way they need to or they should, I guess. I don't know how
Yeah.
to describe it.
Um,
The
I hear
technology
you.
has been available to them forever. So what was stopping Adobe from advancing the rigging system to this type of level? It had to take this other company to do it. And this other company is not really necessarily interested in doing the heavy professional stuff.
Right.
It's nutty, but I mean, this is insane. I mean, to me, this type of rigging and workflow, it's a game changer for me. I'm able to produce things at a speed that I never even imagined, you know?
I think I was telling when I was looking at this and definitely looking at what they're doing with version 4,
Mhm.
um, I was trying to explain it to a friend of mine, and I said it looks like they took um, and with all due respect to my beloved Tim Boom, it looks like they took Tim Boom, uh, Flash, Moho, and even Character Animator, put them all in the blender and said, "Okay, now behave." That's what
Yes, pretty much.
I'm going. This is ridiculous. And as you said, yeah, it's made for the non-professional, but in the hands of a professional, this
Yeah,
is
this is insane. I mean,
yeah,
it's
that's
insane. Yeah.
ridiculous. That's man, like I'm kind of I'm tripping, like as you said, because yeah, when you do get those hamburger clients or steak, what is that? You got hamburger clients, you got steak clients.
Right.
And sometimes you get that fried bologna client. It's like,
Right.
or was it ramen noodles? I'm gonna stop talking about food. My point is, not everybody has the budget to do stuff. And as you said, you don't want to break that all the time, but man, that's I if somebody would have came to me for 15 minutes and said they wanted to pay that, I can't even.
I would have never even considered it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would like 2 years ago, I would have never even considered it. I mean, this is a 15-minute animation and you got $500 in your budget, really?
yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't know. It's just insane. Here's the import of that other template, so you can see
Hmm.
with the different angles and stuff. So he's a little bit more refined. There's some masking options that you can do to make the body parts blend in better. Uh, what I want to show you, take a look at some of these once you get the expressions. Darn it. Yeah. I'm gonna zoom in on the face. So this is like a facial calibration.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. Now, I mean that's only like what do they call it? Like the
The
edge or what's that term that they use? Like man, I can't think of that term that they use. It's like the beginning, you know. It's not that's not even covers like half of the stuff that you can do.
so you
Uh,
just said just the what is the tip of the iceberg?
Tip of the iceberg. That's the expression that I was looking for.
Cool.
I mean, it's really ridiculous, man. I'm gonna drop this character. I'm gonna show you this other thing. You know how I mean, Flash has finally gotten to the point where if you take your time and you know set up your nested graphic symbols and stuff, then you can rig it so that you can import an audio file and do the automatic lip syncing. Um, Jeez. Okay, here we go. Maybe I can just do this live. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, 1, 2, 3. Trying to stop it. Might be a little bit of interference with the recording,
Okay.
but we'll give it a minute to catch up.
But
Because
man,
I already had the multiple sprites for the face all rigged up, the different facial gestures, possible facial gestures and things like that. I mean, the software literally, you want to leave voice recorder? No. Okay. Okay. So there's my recording. And it doesn't always work that way. I think there's a little bit of a issue with like the multiple streams and stuff.
yeah.
But if you can see here, I think it's under the face. I'm gonna open this up. So this is the waveform that it recorded.
Hmm.
And you can see here the different like facial gestures.
Yeah.
So when we play it, so I can like literally just drop any audio file or get into my microphone and just talk into it. The character's gonna process that, give me the lip syncing ready to go. And of course I can come in here and manually tweak the make it more accurate if I need to.
That was going to be my question, but
Yeah.
okay, cool.
There you go. And we have like the like face puppet. So you have
Yeah,
all these things. You can like pre-plan how the movement's gonna go. So let's say that when this character starts talking, I want him to move his head around.
right.
I already, and let's say I already practiced it. It's gonna be like this. Maybe I throw in a little blink right there,
Mhm.
like that. All I have to do is start, hit record. Okay, I'm done. So now when I hit play, see? So puppeteering, and this is just general puppeteering. So you lay out your animation based on just basic puppeteering stuff.
Dude, this is holy whoa. I am damn. It's like that. As you said,
That's
it's a massive game changer. Because I think I used to always wonder, because you remember back when Poser and everything was like at its infancy and all those little things. There was all these really, I would look at it as a professional and go, why is no one using this? And I think this is kind of in that same thing, where no one's using it on a pro level. And I think the big word for this is yet.
yet. It's yet because for some reason, I think it requires, a few of the, more experienced people to like really use it, tell people about it,
Right.
and uh, it's a combination of things, man. I mean, these guys, Reillusion, I mean, their bread and butter is the general crowd. They're not targeting the professional crowd. They, it's kind of like bit strips.
Yeah.
That's how I describe it. Like that was going around on Facebook for a while. People could create their own little cartoon strips without necessarily having to draw, mix and match body parts. And
Right.
boom, I made a pretty nice cartoon of myself interacting with other cartoons. Um, and and they do good. They do well with that, with that work, with that business model. But when you look at it, it's like, holy crap. I mean, if if they knew the kind of work that we put into this stuff, like with the rigging and having to manually tween the different body parts and keep all those graphic symbols together, and you give us a tool where we could just puppeteer and end up with pretty much the same results.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I
Uh,
I am I am like I said, just the between this program and I was also looking at some of their other offerings.
mm-hmm.
They also because I guess because they're doing that whole every man price point. It's just like you're kidding me. This is
Yeah. Now, I mean, it does get a little bit ridiculous once you start wanting to use some of the more, not, I wouldn't say professional, but more of the stuff that a professional would want to, exploit. It does get a little bit of, ridiculous on there. They have a plugin for the iPhones. Oh, actually, I might be able to demo something like that real quick. Um, they have this plugin. If you were one of the lucky people who were able to buy version 3, it was an integral part of the program. It was like an actual part of the software. So
mhm,
if you can see here on my left hand side, there's a little camera option. There wasn't much of an adoption because that's really something that, it does require an additional like expense. You got to buy yourself a fancy iPhone.
right.
So not a lot of people utilized it. And then when Cartoon Animator 4 came out, they decided to just make it into an optional plugin. So, and of course, the plugin costs more than the software itself. So those few people who really want to use it, you got to invest a little bit.
Right.
I'm gonna see if I can launch this 10.0.0.156. You're gonna you're gonna like this. Let's see. Okay, so connect it. Preview. Okay, so here I am. I've got the iPhone pointed right at my face. I'm blinking and I'm talking. This is being controlled live by my facial gestures.
Coolness.
So, I mean, just the ability to be able to do like facial expressions and like synchronizing stuff. And then of course it blends it with whatever motions you already created. I mean, the tools are there, man. It's just ridiculous that I don't see more people adopting this type of workflow.
This is like this is what I was saying earlier. I think Adobe's thing is what is it? Character Animator.
Character Animator, yeah, they
Yeah.
have something that uses webcams and stuff. I haven't had too much time to play with that one, mainly because I like the ability to work with like the full bodies and stuff primarily. And
Right.
I think the Character Animator is mostly about facial expressions.
Right. So
Uh,
okay. But which by the way, you mentioned something about a motion capture suit.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull up this thing real quick. I was just bringing it up. Now this is on my YouTube channel. So I mean, based on what you saw here, basically, you know, since it's a 3D skeletal system, and yeah, you know, if you're a little bit more of a purist and you want to animate by hand and keyframe everything, you have full access to the 3D rig, where you can, like, you know, time your character and pose him in full 3D, and make a move. I mean, and make him move any way you want. Um, so those options are still there. You can still animate everything manually. You can
Mhm.
animate everything like via puppeteering. And because it's a 3D skeleton, it does accept 3D data. So one of the things that I use is a motion capture suit. The one that I use is created by a company called Perception Neuron. They had this Kickstarter a few years back, and they were able to raise enough money to produce these suits very like cheaply, very affordable, very accessible. So it took a little bit of research and you know, get it to work, but I was finally able to figure out a way to like just convert the 3D data to a format that was compatible with the Crazytalk Animator. So here on the make it large. So here on the upper right hand screen, you see one of my characters, Billy. He's full 2D character, rigged exactly the same way that you saw me, you know, mess around with that stuff in Flash earlier.
Mhm.
And this guy's, you know, he's got the suit on and he's performing the motions live. Now, those motions are easily translated into what ends up looking like that.
Nice.
So doing this basically allows you to have like an actor perform the motions, or you do it yourself, you know, perform the motion that you want. Even
Mhm.
if you're not going to use it, you can perform it because it's so fast that you can throw that away. You can use it for your storyboard part, you know. This is going to be the motion, blah blah blah. You have it in action, even if it's like all jerky and like the sprites are being switched around. You're not worried about cleaning it up. It's so fast that you can easily use this as your pre-visualization process. Uh, so, so there's the mocap stuff. We were able to use this in a big project not too long ago. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It's called Batman Missions. It's on the DC Kids channel.
Okay.
Here we go. Now this, I'm gonna lower the volume so we can continue to talk over it.
Okay.
This entire web series is a 12 episode web series that we were able to produce in about 6 weeks.
Wow.
And the majority of the animation was initially captured using mocap. And it was created with Crazytalk Animator 3. The characters themselves were rigged up exactly the same way that you saw me do that thing earlier, except that we used photographs of the Mattel toys rather than the actual drawing, than they actually draw this stuff. But as you can see, I mean, this is a lot of these are very like natural looking motions because they were mo-capped basically.
Okay.
They have like a very interesting way of moving, you know, like you kind of lose that expressiveness that you get from like the classical what do you call it, the principles,
Yes. The
but
12 principles.
you do get the natural movement of like a real human actor though. So you gain a
So,
little bit something extra as a result, or different, not extra but different.
right.
And of course, you know, depending on the project, I mean, there's nothing stopping you from taking the base motion capture movement, laying it down as your base movement, and then going back and exaggerating, enhancing it, adding that extra timing, adding those bounces, the squash and stretch. So
That was going to be my main thing. And it's been I guess my pet peeve of almost any motion capture, especially like the early days. You'd have to look at the character's hands. It was like no matter whether it's 3D, 2D, whatever. It's almost like they're a mannequin, and like and their hand would be
yeah,
like that one pose. It's like stop that. Go back in and go in. Motion capture is fine. Go in and give dude's hands something.
but make it look a little bit more believable, you know, enhance it, give it something new. Because if you're just going to be doing the full natural, the way that you would move live, you know, just point a camera at the guy and do it live, you know.
Yeah. So let me ask you this.
Hmm.
Do you worry that the field of animation or character art in general is completely oversaturated with no signs of letting up? Or do you feel that all of this competition is a good thing?
I think that, you know, it's probably the same, because the more that technology advances,
Mm-hmm.
it frees us up to find other problems.
I like
uh,
that.
so you might have made it so that, I mean, I can literally be producing, you know, with the given technology, producing stuff, you know, that's the same quality of like Disney and DreamWorks back in the mid 90s,
Mm-hmm.
uh, with a personal computer and, you know, mocap technology and stuff like this. But now it makes it so that I can, you know, I can add more stuff to it. So you create additional work for yourself. So yes, I was able to produce this animation in, you know, a day, but now that I produced it in one day, I can take my time to enhance it further with other stuff that I hadn't even thought of before. So I don't think, I think that with the whole market saturation thing, yes, there's more people that have more access to these type of tools, so they're able to participate and get involved and become animators and become artists. Um, but at the same time, it gives you like a baseline in terms of what you can produce. So it still puts you in a position where people who are naturally creative or have a certain degree of talent or are able to do more research can still put themselves over the top because you have more time to do extra stuff that'll make you stand out. So I think it's the same, to be honest.
Okay.
I don't worry too much about it, because even if you have better tools and everybody has access to the same tools, it does free you up so that you can put a little bit more into it.
Okay. Um, what's your best advice to beginner animators and artists for how to deal with clients with steak appetites but hamburger budgets? Now, you've already talked about a little bit of that, but I want to see how you want to answer this.
I think first you should consider what type of work you are willing to do for the budgets that are being offered. You can't just go into it because somebody else charges X amount of money and expect that you're going to be making the same. You don't have the same level of experience that the other person has. I mean, I might be able to take on a quick $300 project, but then again, I might be able to produce that project in an hour. Whereas I know that myself, something similar to that, maybe 10 years ago, would have probably taken me a week or 2 weeks to do. I definitely would not be doing it for no $300.
Okay.
So I think you need to take into consideration your own limitations as they are currently,
Hmm.
um, and make and make your decisions based on that. You know, don't make them based on exposure. Definitely, you know, don't make them based on, okay, this is a, you know, a high profile project or whatever. I mean, if it was really a good high profile project, then they probably would have a suitable budget for you. Um, if you feel, I mean, you test yourself. How long does it take you to create a minute of animation? I mean, most animators are not one trick ponies. I mean, most animators can adapt to pretty much any style. You want me to give you full traditional hand-drawn animation? Yeah, I can do that. It's going to take about this much time. That's how much it takes me. I'm going to require this. I'm going to be using this other software, or I'm going to be doing, you know, puppeteering work. You know, for me, I'm not going to charge it just based on a general per minute rule thing. I'm just going to charge it on, in my mind, how difficult it's going to be for me to create it, whether it's worth my time. You know, if I land a job that pays X amount of money and it's going to take me a week to produce, but then it was like, you know, decisions made because it's, I, I, I think I'm going to be able to produce it in a week. When in reality, I've never done it before
Right.
and I'm not too sure. And it ends up taking me 3 weeks. Then I compare it, you know, I'm like, what would have been cheaper, you know, because if the job is $1,000 and you can make it in 3 or 4 days, you know, like 8-hour days or whatever, okay, it might be worth it. But if the job pays $1,000, but realistically, you know, it's going to take you 3 weeks to produce, maybe you should consider flipping burgers at McDonald's because you're going to make more money as a result. You know, you're going to be able to feed your family as a result, even though
Yeah.
you're making minimum wage. Uh, so sometimes it's not worth it. So you just gotta evaluate your own abilities. If you know, like if you have tools and experience doing stuff like this, okay, uh, you don't have to have the motion capture suit. I mean, you can do things like Mixamo, Adobe Mixamo. They have like this entire library of like motion capture stuff, for example.
Right.
Like here's a Mixamo. You know, based on what this client is telling me, I know I'm gonna need like a run cycle, maybe some kind of dancing sequence or whatever. I mean, the stuff is already there. I'm like, okay, it'll take me a couple of hours to put this together. I think I can do it for your budget. So, and of course, you know, prep your client if he's willing to go with that route because they're not gonna. I mean, as much as they want full hand-drawn animation or a specific type of CGI stuff, they're not gonna get it for those budgets. So you kind of put your own limitations up front first, like evaluate what you can do, whether you can pull it off, and if it's within that budget, you know, go for it. But don't overpromise. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to end up wasting 20, 30, 40 hours of your life. And then the client's going to not want to pay you that little amount that he wanted to, that was tough to get him to agree with in the first place, you know?
Right.
But that's what I would advise. You know, just look at your own limitations first. You know, forget about this whole. I see a lot of people still. You know, they do the typical. You know, how much do you charge for this? How much do you charge for that? And that's a sign of like, okay, well, they just started. You know, because most of the time, somebody with experience, they pretty much are able to just evaluate. You know, on a per project basis, and usually what I tell them is like, it doesn't matter what I charge because it's probably not what you should be charging, you know? And I don't know how to explain that part, man. It's because I know they're not going to be able to produce the type of work that I can produce in as little time as I can do it.
Right.
So me telling you how much I charge for X amount of whatever time is not going to make a difference in what you're going to charge. So don't even worry about that. Look at your limitations, look at your expenses, look at what you're producing, what you're able to do. And, if you're paying your bills, you're paying your rent, you got food, and you're happy doing this type of stuff, then you don't have to concern yourself with whether I charge 3 or 4 times more money than you do. Um, just do the work, enjoy it. You're going to gain experience. Eventually, you're going to be able to do that work a lot faster. You're going to find tricks and you're going to find other techniques that you're going to be able to implement. And, there's nobody stopping you from continuing to charge higher rates, even though you're doing less work at that point.
Cool. What do you think is missing from 2D animation today, if anything?
Innovation. The whole thing about 2D animation being dead, and a lot of that is our fault as a community. We're stuck on the whole traditionalist aspect of it. I remember when Toon Boom Studio 3 came out, uh, they were pretty impressive. I was really impressed with that software. I thought that it appealed a lot to the traditional artist in me.
Mm-hmm.
And but man, it's been what, like 15, 18 years since that, and nothing much has changed. I mean, multi-plane cameras are a big marketing point for software, for example. But the multi-plane camera was developed over 100 years ago. Why are these high-end, tech companies worried about replicating 100-year-old technology when they could easily be giving us tools that are going to advance what we're producing today? We don't want to create stuff from 100 years ago. Our animators are like, especially the purist ones, man. They'll they want to have the $600 animation disc. They want to have the $400 animation table, which is just a board with a hole, the right size for your animation disc, and the Acme peg bar, which requires a $600 hole puncher. It's stupid. I mean, these companies got away with it back in the day because there was nobody producing these tools. When you have a monopoly, you can charge whatever the hell you want for your products. So if nobody else is producing animation discs, they're going to charge whatever they want for their animation disc. We're not there anymore. We have tools. We have Cintiq tablets. We have all these things that we don't need that stuff anymore. But the purists are still stuck with that, that mentality that it has to be traditional. You have to do it the same old way. And, if you just forego that stuff, get yourself a cheap old Huion tablet, which costs maybe 1/5 the cost of a Cintiq tablet.
Yeah.
Works exactly the same. I have a couple of those, man. You're able to produce. I mean, the hardware allows you to do more. That extra money that you have because you didn't splurge it all on one tool, you can put it towards something else. Better tools, better hardware. More like CGI stuff or more education. Teach yourself some new. Well, I mean, for example, Toon Boom has the X sheet, right?
Mm-hmm.
X sheets also, they were a really great tool when a director needed to give instructions to an animator back in the day and be able to see everything visually on paper. It was just basically a printed out Excel spreadsheet almost.
Right.
You lay it out and then you give it to the animator. This is where I want these points to be. Da 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 da. That's how it was done. But things like X sheets on digital media, where you have to read them top to bottom, they take all this space. You literally need a second monitor just to visualize them, when you clearly can do without them and just have like a standard horizontal timeline. But why are we still sticking with those old traditional things? If Disney was alive, he would have moved past those things a long time ago. That's what he was about, innovating, moving past it, making it better. The cell animation process where you draw the main body of the character on a cellophane sheet and then you just worry about animating the hand. Well, that's what we were doing with Flash about 10, 15 years ago. It took us that long to catch up to stuff that we were doing traditionally forever. And now, I mean, like for example, this with the fully rigged characters, that's definitely a little bit of innovation there, because now this has nothing to do with cell animation. It has nothing to do with the whole keyframing of individual body parts, but it's allowing me to rig a full character and animate him with a 3D skeleton and still retain that 2D, because at the end of the day, I still want to produce 2D animation. So that's innovation. And the software companies are not really innovating as much as they need to. And us as animators, we're not demanding it. You know, we want to stay with X sheets. We want to stay with multi-plane cameras. We want to stay with stuff where you have to do a lot of work to produce the same stuff when it's not necessary. You know, when companies like this can easily innovate, give you something new, it's like, wait a minute, that's great. I didn't even consider doing this type of stuff 4 years ago. So I think the innovation part is what we're lacking. And 2D animation is not dead. We just kind of the company stopped innovating and we stopped demanding it. We wanted to stay at a traditional point where we're forcing it not to evolve, while other technologies are allowing other types of animation to be produced faster and more frequently. I mean, that's the same thing, to be produced more frequently with better quality, while the same thing could be happening with 2D animation, but we're just letting it pass us by because we're too stuck on the traditional stuff with the I want to be able to do this the hard way. You know, if I don't do it the hard way, it's not proper.
Dude, that is, I have, wow. And part of it is going, when you started the argument, I was like, I don't know. And then by the end of it, I was just like, whoa, that's a very valid point. Damn. Okay. That is, wow. I mean, and one, you answered two of my questions at the same time. That is, dude, wow. I'm not acting this out. That's deep as hell. I've never heard anyone push that. That is brilliant.
Well, that's awesome, man. Yeah, and I think definitely if companies that are really passionate about 2D animation, they wanted to be able to push things forward. I think they can. They definitely have the technology to. They just got to be willing to do stuff that hasn't been done before. If you ask me, for example, what's one of the most like best features in Flash? You know, a lot of people are going to tell you, it might be the bone system. It might be the new feature that Toon Boom was doing with the coloring of the changing of colors and stuff.
Right.
They finally added a camera system to it. You know, to me, the most absolute greatest innovative thing that Flash has ever brought to us was the ability for those lines that we draw to recognize that they're touching each other. You draw a line, and then you draw a second line over it, then you click a segment of that line, it recognizes where that intersection is. So you can click it, delete, and it'll clean that section up. And just that one ability to recognize its own intersections, I think is like the most innovative thing that Flash has brought us in like the last 20 years. And they haven't given us anything that big in like 20 years or so. But that was new. We did not know that we needed that,
Right.
You draw something and then clean it up. We're used to going in there with an eraser tool, with, doing all sorts of things, but the ability to just click a line and delete that segment that we don't want, the ability to select all the lines and hit the smoothing button, have all the lines get smoothed by themselves. Those are innovative things that were never traditional. But if you're a traditional animator, that's going to allow you to produce traditional animation so fast, so much faster. But the process itself is nowhere near traditional. Has nothing to do with traditional animation. Clicking lines and deleting them, pulling on them like they're putty. That's not traditional at all.
Okay. Well, Ibis, thank you so much for meeting with me. This has been eye opening. I've definitely got to go. I was already kind of looking this direction and seeing what there was. It was nice to see it in action and seeing, um, as you said, where I don't see other programs pulling this off. The other ones that I've been using, just yeah, this is incredible. This is really nice, man.
I hope that everybody who's watching this, if you're interested in this type of workflow, hit up Reillusion. Let them know that you like this sort of stuff, man, because we have to let the guys who are in a position to create these tools for us know that these things are useful for us. There's been a big move towards dumbing the software down lately, making it more accessible to the general crowd. Just draw what you see in Photoshop and just, move them around like marionettes. This whole process of the 3D manipulation stuff is kind of being scrubbed to the side. I hope that if you guys are watching this and you guys think that, it's something that's useful for us as a community to advance the art of 2D animation, send them a letter, send them an email, let them know, hey, we love this stuff. We want you guys to make bigger things with this, because it's only going to help us out, and we need to stop being so traditional about stuff.
Coolness. All right, sir. Thank you very much for hanging out with us.
It was great talking to you again, Tony.
Great talking to you, man.
Hopefully it's not another 20 years.
Cool. All right, this has been Tony Ross with our 2D Animation and Virtual Summit with Ibis Fernandez. And we'll be talking to you guys later. Hang out.
See ya.